Hello and welcome to Beyond the Edge. I'm your host, Brandy Deutsch.
Hi, I'm Dee Dee DeMayo, your co-host, Light, Love, and Blessings.
And I feel like I'm kind of just even getting myself together today. It's like hurry, rush. But I'm so excited about today because we were trying to have Gwen on this show for several weeks now, several months, and we finally get to do it. So I just want to jump right in and introduce our guest today.
Okay.
Today we're going to be talking about supporting natural immunity. And it's such a charged topic right now, but I really wanted to bring an expert on, someone I know who has been working with natural immunity for many, many years. And so this is Gwen Foster. And Gwen has actually been a long time friend of mine. I really appreciate her and her expertise. She's been an amazing person in our Houston community, but she actually counsels people all over the world. So Gwen, when she was when she was young, she had some health issues, and she was actually very much into not into really what she's in today. I apologize. I'm trying to find my notes on Gwen. This is how crazy it's been for me today. She's the owner of New Vision USA. She's a Hannah Kroger practitioner. She's a certified NLP practitioner and a hypnotherapist. I hope I got that right. A certified biofeedback technician and a personal coach. And some of the other modalities that she's used in the past is Reiki, Matrix Energetics, SRT, EFT, and ECR. And Gwen received her bachelor's from the Natural Health Studies with the highest honors from Clayton College of Natural Health in 2003. So she's been doing this a very long time. And she uses New Vision with all her clients to help identify blocks and imbalances. Her personal passion is working on underlying emotional conflicts and triggers with other people. And with the help of Dr. Hammer and Michael Lincoln's work, I'm familiar with them, amazing. Gwen also uses herbs, homeopathy, flower essence, essential oils, and nutrition to help her clients. And so, Gwen, welcome. We're so excited that you're here. And I'm not going to say you throw the kitchen sink and stuff, but you don't. It's just, you just have this wealth of knowledge and information that you sell. So welcome to Beyond the Edge. We're so excited that you're here today.
Thanks, Brandy. I love your enthusiasm for one thing. I think that any practitioner that has been around 20 years, I know you've been around a long time, we just have a tool bag, right, that we accumulate of things that we've learned, and we just keep adding to it, because I'm like an education junkie. If I'm a junkie of anything, it's knowledge. And so when I hear of something cool, I want to go take a class, or I want to take the certification in it. So it's just accumulated over time. It's just like a big bad thing, a big bag of stuff. But what I was going to say is just in response to my own health issues is I went to Africa in 1988, and I was in my opinion, I was never diagnosed with malaria, because in 1988, after I didn't get sick in Africa, but I'll say that out of 24 people that started the journey around Kenya and Tanzania, only about 6 of us made it. And if you didn't make it, that meant that you, at your own cost, had to go back to Nairobi to get out of there, because it was a one-way safari by Jeep. And so if you got to Tanzania and you got ill, then you had to work your way back to Nairobi, and you couldn't finish the trip because dysentery and malaria and other things were pretty rampant. And I did everything I was supposed to do. I was a normal person back then. I did the shots to go. I took the pills for malaria to go. I didn't even know about any dangers of vaccines. And it wasn't during the trip that I got sick. It was after the trip I started declining. But no doctor in Houston, and by the way, Houston is in the tropics for all that matters, and there's like 1 or 2 parasitologists. No one ever asked me, did you travel to Africa or India? Or, there's other countries. Egypt is kind of known for getting sick. And I just got sicker and sicker. And every time I went to the doctor, I was just given another medication. And I was on enough prednisone in the 90s to probably put a horse down. It did major liver damage. I had adult onset asthma, lupus, shingles, acid reflux. I was on inhalers that, I mean, I couldn't do this. I couldn't put my hands on my arm. I couldn't exercise. And so it was a weird thing. Back then, I didn't know if I'd live to be 50. I'm 59 as of a few weeks ago. I didn't know back then I would even make it to 50 because I was spending a lot of time in doctor offices, getting prescriptions refilled, laying in bed. And if I didn't have lupus on the face, I had it on my body. And I don't know if anyone on this call has ever had lupus or shingles, but they're debilitating.
I had shingles.
Yeah,
Not fun.
Debilitating. It's painful.
Mm-hmm.
I had to lay there with no clothes on because it was not on my, the shingles is not usually on your face. But anyway, a blanket could not touch me. It was just like on fire. And if my AC kicked on, I couldn't have the AC on and I couldn't have a fan on. And I mean, those didn't mess with me, except they wanted me to have a sheet or blanket, which couldn't touch me. So it was just like this very kind of weird thing. And so anyway, as things go, I had 3 different people tell me, one at Centerpoint, one friend, and another person that just told me I should go to Hannah's place in Boulder. And I'm not dumb enough or ignorant enough to not listen to 3, I hear something 3 times, I'm going to act on it. And so I ended up in Boulder, and that actually was the beginning of my journey to wellness. And then there were a few pieces that just didn't get resolved there. And it was through NLP and hypnosis that got the rest of the way, because some of it was emotional, so anyone that's dealing with chronic illness, there is usually an emotional component, especially when you've given up, or especially when you think this is my life, this is my story, and you get stuck in that story. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about morphic field in COVID. But anyway, that's how I got here in healing myself. And then I originally had an electronics degree. My degree out of high school was electronics. And I was, introduced through just, coincidences of channels. The programmer, who's a genius that's behind New Vision, I created the data sets, and it was kind of a happy, healthy marriage, between development. And it was at the right time, 11 years ago. And New Vision then became my original skills, and then my naturopathic skills, kind of put together. So I also teach and sell New Vision as a software. But my primary interest in life and my passion is working with individuals. Software is not that exciting. It's exciting at what it can do, but it's more exciting because I think I actually have learned more from clients and sickness and wellness than I have from any curriculum. Because when you're trying to get one person well and you got to figure it out, you learn a lot from that versus memorizing a bunch of herbs or remedies. So anyway, that's how I got here.
Thank you for sharing that story, Gwen. I knew parts of it, but I didn't know the whole thing. So it was really great to hear, kind of fill in some gaps there. And I love what you said about, working individually with people, because it's, without what makes allopathic medicine different from holistic medicine is holistic medicine looks at the person and the whole person, what's happening, with that whole not just, oh, you've got this one little thing, let's just put that Band-Aid on it, instead of going, what's going on with you as a whole. And what I've learned from you, Gwen, is that it's a whole unit, the body's like its own ecosystem, mm-hmm. right? And then if there's one thing happening, it's a signal, it's a sign that something else is going on. And it's almost like an unraveling. I love watching you work, because you just unravel not only the whole thing that's happening with someone, but also the causing condition, the physical, the mental, the emotional. It's all intertwined. And the way that you go about looking at these different things, it's fascinating to me. And the software program just really hones in on different things. And it's so funny. It gets real specific, and then it comes out and looks at the whole part, and then you find out the whole story. I mean, it's just like this amazing puzzle piece per person. Each person is so different, right? Mm-hmm. We're all so different.
Everyone's different.
And it's our story too that intertwines with what's going on with us. I'm such a sci-fi geek, right? I love the technology and the science behind how we're helping people heal. I really think that this is our next evolutionary step in helping each other and helping the body do what it needs to do. Can you talk a little bit about natural immunity? This has been such a charged thing right now, and just a little bit of background of like what natural immunity is, and then how you're working with people in order to support that.
Yeah. So the natural immunity is generally, you know, I would say that it's again, everything. It's the whole body. It's, are you resting? It's your adrenals. Are you too stressed out? Is your nutrition, your diet, your relationships. If someone is going through life and they're a stress case, or they're, you know, a ball of anxiety, their immunity is affected. It's not just how much vitamin C are you taking. You know, and there's some things like having to do with natural immunity that are a little bit unique in the last year and a half. You know, a year and a half ago when we heard of, you know, Corona or COVID or whatever we want to call it, the C word, some people call it the beer bug, you know, for Corona, but whatever we want to call it, you know, there was really early information. And in fact, I think one of the best things I heard like 18 months ago was by Klinghardt, Dr. Klinghardt. And Dr. Klinghardt was talking about, I mean, way early on, way before anyone had all these opinions on whether it's mainstream or alternative media. And he was talking about spike proteins, and he was talking about the importance of vitamin D, and talking about zinc and quercetin together being, you know, kind of a really magic weapon. So what I want to say about immunity is that in natural immunity, it's all the factors. It's, like I said, rest, sleep, stress, all those things bundled up. You cannot take enough vitamin C to offset all those other things. So it's about balance for one thing. And, you know, you have to kind of look at that. Now, if you are stressed, if you are sleep deprived, maybe because you have very young children, or you have a very demanding situation at home, or you're a caretaker or something like that, you have to realize that you need to do more than a person who's kind of like calm and chill. Because for one thing, stress depletes your B vitamins, you know, and B vitamins are, you know, also about stress coping. But not only that, but I do functional medicine. And so and this is not an exaggeration, but at least 75 to 80% of labs that I see on people are showing low vitamin D levels. Mm-hmm. Well, 18 months ago, Klinghardt and then the rest of the world said vitamin D is a big component right now. If, you know, the people that are most likely to get COVID with serious issues are vitamin D deficient people. Mm-hmm. Most Americans are not getting enough vitamin D. And so if I had to pick one thing that people should be doing, it's vitamin D. But there's a lot of reasons then that people are also taking vitamin D. And then there's an optimal range. And then there's like a doctor's sick range. You know, they're very different, the healthy optimal range and then the sick range. But when you're looking at vitamin D, if you have low thyroid, you're going to be more subject to vitamin D deficiency. If you have poor fat and protein digestion, like a blood type A or AB, if you have liver or gallbladder issues that they're taxed, you're going to have less, because vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin. I think it's one of the reasons that vitamin D is so depleted. And what are we taught in modern society? Avoid the sun. The sun is dangerous. The sun is the cause of skin cancer, which is total BS. But we're told to wear sunscreen, cover yourself up, don't go lay in the sun, don't go in the sun. This is all like totally opposite of what natural medicine says. Natural medicine says the sun actually draws the cancer to the surface of the skin that's already in your body. So it's actually trying to help you heal whatever's going on. And that's also kind of a liver indication. But if you have, like, just for instance, your vitamin D numbers should be at least 50. And like in doctors, they'll say 30 is okay. ALT and AST, which are your liver numbers, should be above 26. I mean, below 26. Doctors don't care until it's 52. So these numbers, like if you want to look up, you know, labs, if they're a year old, that's probably good enough, or you can get new labs. But the other things I would recommend, just as a, you know, day to day, which is what I've been doing. I've been around plenty of people I'm in Texas like you guys, so we're like pretty opened up. Like I'm going everywhere without mask or protection. I'm never ever using hand sanitizer. The hand sanitizer, I don't like the chemicals in it. I don't want that absorbing into my skin. So I wouldn't say I've been a paranoid person at all. And I've been around plenty of things, going to Zumba, going to Costco, going to the grocery store, whatever. But I'm also doing what I'm telling people to do, so my main 4 things are vitamin D, zinc, quercetin, and NAC, NAC, N-acetylcysteine. Now, I want to talk about NAC for a second because NAC is very hard to get right now. Amazon, I think this is kind of weird, and you can make your own judgment. Amazon banned NAC from being sold on Amazon a while back because they want NAC to only be prescribed by physicians, which is never going to happen. No physician's ever going to prescribe NAC. So basically they're saying like chaparral, we're just going to not make it available anymore.
I have a question. Is NAC an acronym for something longer?
Yeah, N-acetylcysteine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for that question. N-acetylcysteine. So it's a type of amino acid. It has some very unique properties that people should be aware of right now more than ever. Is it repairs liver damage. If someone's taken opiates or painkillers or Tylenol PM or Advil or whatever they've taken for pain or sleep forever or medications, NAC is your answer to repairing the liver.
Okay.
But one thing they've said about NAC and shown is that NAC stops the spike protein from multiplying or from moving on and messing up the DNA and the acceleration of that process. I don't personally know of anything else. I mean, I didn't hear of one other thing. I've heard way less about it, so I don't even want to mention it. But NAC is, okay, so when Amazon stopped being able to sell it, you could get it from like Vitacost, iHerb, a few other places. They're out. Like you can't get it because it's that popular. And if you look around, you'll find something. You'll find, like I'm on my 5th brand of NAC in the last, what was the first of the year? So in 9 months, I've had to change suppliers 5 times.
Wow.
Because I'll get 50 bottles, 60 bottles, sell them, can't get that anymore. Go to the next one. And if you go to, some of these common websites that sell supplements, it'll just say out of stock, out of stock, out of stock. Okay, so that's one thing. The thing about zinc and quercetin that people should know that don't understand zinc and quercetin, zinc is super deficient in people because zinc is in very few foods naturally. Zinc is in paprika, oysters, and sunflower seeds. Those are the main 3 sources of zinc. Who eats those regularly? Almost nobody. I do like paprika a lot, so I use it at least once a week or twice a week in something in a meat dish I'm cooking. But when else are you really getting paprika? So if you're not eating those 3 foods regularly, and this shows up on labs too, almost every lab I've ever done, cellular nutrition assays or regular labs, serum labs, zinc is deficient. Zinc is why people are losing taste and smell. If someone is having COVID and they lose their taste and smell, it's because of the zinc deficiency. But this is the deal with zinc. If you lose the taste and smell and then you try to come in and bring in zinc, it doesn't work so good. I mean, to restore the taste and smell, people are going weeks and months without taste and smell, which tells me that they already had a zinc deficiency because there's something going on with COVID and the zinc receptors. I'll say one other thing is if someone's been using Zicam, and Zicam is a national brand of nose spray, there's class action lawsuits all over against Zicam because Zicam does something weird with zinc receptor sites. So if someone's taken Zicam in the past, that's been their like seasonal flu allergy solution, very likely they're going to have loss of taste and smell with COVID if they have COVID exposure. And I have some clients who are permanently lost taste and smell because of using Zicam regularly. And I have a few clients that are in class action lawsuits against Zicam. Still being sold because what they're making on it offsets what they're going to pay in damages. But people should know that there's like this like zinc relationship. Okay, then quercetin. Quercetin is not expensive. This bottle is like $14, I think. It's $14, $16, and it's not in low supply, but I've also had to change, it's not like NAC right now where you can't get it at all. But quercetin is in the family of quinine. quinine is in the family of hydroxychloroquine. So when people are talking about alternative solutions because they can't get hydroxychloroquine, I'm not going to say it does exactly the same thing, but quinine is what's in tonic water, the real tonic water. There's recipes online of how to make quinine yourself at home using grapefruit peel. And it's the grapefruit peel has that peculiar taste that tonic has. Like if you've ever had a gin and tonic or vodka tonic, it's that taste that's different than like soda. So quercetin is in that family of things. So if you want to do something easy, unless you want to go boil grapefruit peels, quercetin is a good solution. So if I was going to say, especially for COVID more than just flu, but this would be true of flu or anything, circulating. Again, my choices would be vitamin D, quercetin, N-acetylcysteine, and vitamin, what did I miss? Zinc. So those are the ones I would do. And if you get your blood work done and your D levels continue to keep being low, or your zinc is low and you're taking it, you might have to do a little bit more investigating. So it's not sometimes enough to take it. Sometimes with Ultra D, you need to take or vitamin D, you need to take a digestive enzyme. If you're a person that takes vitamin D and burps it up, or see little oil spills in your toilet, or your poop floats, you need a digestive enzyme for fat, because what's happening is it's not being absorbed. And so your blood work will still show low vitamin D levels.
That's interesting to know. One of my kiddos has to take vitamin D because she was deficient when she went to the doctor for labs this year. And vitamin D is very important on so many levels, but it's good to hear it used for this, because she's going to be able to have an extra precaution now against things.
Exactly. Yeah.
On the college campus. Oh
God.
Yeah, they're saying the death rate is greatly increased if you're D deficient, obese, have diabetes, or have heart disease.
Right.
And some people have heart disease and don't know they have heart disease because they don't have any like apparent symptoms. But if you have those 4 factors, those are the high risk factors at any age. But, most kids don't have those issues because they're playing outside and they, don't have those other medical conditions and not obese. But those are the ones that's where people really need to worry. Not that other people can't get sick and have symptoms, because I know people that have and been, suffering for sometimes weeks, but there's lots of ways to avoid it. I also want to say one other thing is that sometimes people don't have, in the beginning they were saying the cough, but I've had friends that all they've had is body aches.
Yeah.
They've had severe body aches for 3 weeks and they never had really, they might have had a slight fever, but they didn't really have typical flu symptoms. And then I've had people that have had all of it, I don't know if I can say this right now, but I don't want to forget to say this is when you're going to ER, that is the last time to call someone like me for help. You need to be doing this stuff before, because I have so many clients in other states. Like Texas is pretty great and Florida is really great too. But by the time your loved one is going to ER and admitted in most centers, and you have no say-so over the medical treatment and you have no way to get supplements to them, that is not the time to be investigating solutions.
Right.
It's too late, because you're going to have no interaction. One thing also I'll give you as a tip, and everyone should buy one of these. This is a finger pulse oximeter, and you just put it on your finger. And if you have manicured fingers, it doesn't read so well, but a good oxygen reading on one of these is 98 or above. And okay, but not great is 95, 98. But if you get to 90 or lower, you are supposed to go to ER. See, my number is 98, and it should be. But someone will say, well, mine's 92. That's terrible. And 90 is bad. That's when they were saying you need to seek medical treatment. So having one of these at home and a thermometer, again, are things to have before you get sick, not when you're a week into it already and you're questioning if I should go to the hospital or not. So they're about $30, $35. And this and a thermometer, you have to have these at home.
Well, if they can't get one of those, you can download an app on your phone to do an oxygen read with your fingertip. And I know that because when I was in Peru, the altitude changes how you breathe and what oxygen you get. So I was constantly checking you know, if I felt heavy and stuff like that. So I'd know to stop and make myself take deep breaths to get that. And so with you mentioning that, it makes me think one of my friends' aunts was really sick just recently, and she had the pulse ox, and I used to be an EMT, so I was telling her, look, you need to have oxygen. You may not feel like getting up and moving, and the doctors aren't treating you and they're sending you home from the ER. You've got to breathe. You've got to make yourself take deep breaths and try to clear your lungs, because that is you can't heal if your body is not getting oxygen.
Exactly.
You know? And so, yeah, it's very important to make sure you have never lower than 96. In my opinion, I would be, you know, I kind of have a cheat thing here because I have an oxygen concentrator. I need oxygen. I'm going to put the mask on, and you know, and because that's so important.
Other access to one of these other things.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the
they may right. So these things are affordable options. And you know, so let's just go
exactly.
over.
So I just ask you about the nebulizer, because I've been reading upon it a little bit, and it really seems like it's something that can help people. And what to put in the nebulizer? What do you use for that?
Okay, so that's a good question. Mercola did a great interview earlier this year, maybe February. I don't remember the man's name, and you can find the video, I think, through Mercola. But anyway, you take a diluted food grade hydrogen peroxide. So if you go to like Swanson's website, you can get a 16-ounce bottle. I don't have one on my desk, but I have a bunch of them here. But you buy a 16-ounce bottle. They're about $5. And you put like a capful or like an ounce, depends on how big your well is, but let's say a 1:8 ratio of food grade peroxide. Not only will it knock things out like quick, but it will also take care of other pathogens such as Lyme, parasites, Candida systemically, because anything that's a gas, and so gas products like MMS and peroxide and ionic silver, any gaseous product has a very unique quality that it can get past the blood-brain barrier and into the brain. And then it can also penetrate the cells and muscles and get to places that the digestive system can't get to. Because when I take a pill orally, it has to go through the digestive process, and it's not going to get back up to the brain, you know, but a gaseous product, especially inhaling it, is going to literally penetrate everywhere. And especially for people, like I've seen some x-rays of people that have lung damage because of COVID and going too long without doing anything. And it looks like a smoker. The x-rays look like, and maybe they never smoked, but or it looks like really an asbestos damage. But that's why inhalation is a superior thing. So in my concentrated oxygen machine does not have a well to add something to it, you know, but it has that hospital sound to it, you know, but it doesn't have a water well. So, but if you have a nebulizer or CPAP, you have a water well, and you can put your food grade peroxide. And that's a good point, because food grade peroxide is so inexpensive. Like if I was going to go through the trouble of buying it from Swanson, I would buy like 4 bottles. It's also a good rinse for your mouth. And that's what he says. If you take it orally and you take it nebulized, literally pathogens cannot survive it. You know, so if you want to get rid of other pathogens, it's a great solution.
Well, I may be incorrect, but my understanding about hydrogen peroxide anyway, is that it causes and forces oxygenation to happen on what you put it on. So again, it's about getting oxygen, and it's going to, you know, remove toxins or bacteria or anything that's in the way to open up so that you can breathe. And it's already putting oxygen where it's going. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And one other thing I want to say to that is, don't buy the brown bottle of peroxide at Walmart. That's not food grade. You need to buy food grade, and it comes in like 3%, which is fine. It also comes in other increments. So you want to stay with 3%, because you can go with the stronger ones like 35%, but then you really need to dilute it. So just buy the 3%. It's very inexpensive, and it's a very good thing to do at home. The other thing I bought, and I know that there's controversy here, so I don't want to get too much into controversy, but I did buy ivermectin from the feed store, and I have my own stash. And I also did the appointment with Frontline Doctors, and I have my hydroxychloroquine here. You know, I've never been sick, and I've actually given some to family that did get sick. But, you know, this is a thing. I could sit here and worry about it, or I could just be prepared. You know, like I'm doing the immune boosters, but also have a backup plan, because there is no way in HELL that I'm going to the hospital. So if I can treat myself and use the things that have been shown to be effective, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to trust. I'm not going to give up my rights by going to the hospital. Sorry if that offends anybody, but I'm not. I'm very capable to figure this out and do it myself. But it's just like the people that were in fear of no toilet paper and water. Just go buy it. Like, why are we in fear of it or losing sleep over it? Just go buy it. And then it's like insurance.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
being
these
prepared.
Things,
yeah.
They prepared. These two things cost under $100, and I get to sleep every night and not worry if I've just been around somebody. Oh my gosh, I could have got sick. I don't even think that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that a lot of people aren't getting this information. I think it's more than unfortunate. I think that there is a concerted effort to keep this information from people, and it's really sad and eye-opening, right? So, you know, people are really realizing that, oh, wait a minute, I should have this information. Why aren't they telling us about this, right? So talk a little bit more about the morphogenic field and what people really need to know about how we're thinking and how we're feeling.
Okay, thanks. And that's actually one of my favorite topics right now, because I have never had a COVID test. I will not have a COVID test, but I'm also a person who hasn't been to the OBGYN in 22 years, you know, or a mammogram. I'm just a person who feels like I think everyone should be able to take care of themselves. Not everybody has my background, let's say. I get that. But I'm not unique in doing research or unique in looking things up and making an intelligent decision. And I'm not saying that everybody should do that. Like, I'm just saying that I do it because I have a confidence about it, that if something's wrong with me, and especially having new vision, I should know, and then I can act accordingly. But having to do with morphogenetic field, or we can say morphic field, to me, that's the same thing. If you're one of these people, and there's no judgment here, but if you're running around getting a COVID test every other week because you're fearful that someone had COVID or you're going to get COVID, aren't you kind of expecting to get it? You're just waiting for the positive test. You know, it's like you're in your own field. You're in a very different field than mine, because there's a morphic field out here now that says COVID, and it's about fear, and it's about vaccines, and it's about COVID testing, and it's about all this stuff. And then there's another group that has a different morphic field that says, I'm not worried about it. I'm peaceful and calm about it. I have this stuff around me that you guys just saw, and I'm just like living my life. I'm just doing my thing. So I would say, which field are you plugged into? Because it's no different. And I like to use two examples because I see this all the time in my practice, is that if you're a person, a different kind of explanation in morphic field. If your mother and grandmother had breast cancer and you're convinced you're going to get breast cancer because they did, you're also just waiting to get breast cancer. Our minds, what I learned in NLP is our minds are amazing at creating illness. And if you've never heard of like Carolyn Mace and her stuff of why people don't heal, or Bruce Lipton's biology of belief and biology of perception, we all have the capability to get breast cancer, every one of us. But some people do and some people don't. Why? Why do some people? It's not geneticism. It's not DNA. I don't buy that. It's that I have a friend who not only thinks she's going to get it, but she goes and does all this testing for breast cancer, like Angelina Jolie.
Well, didn't she have her breast removed to avoid it? Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
How drastic is that?
It's totally crazy.
Let me just speak to that real quick, because forever, when I've gone to the doctors, over the years, their forms, they ask about family history. I don't answer that. They ask me why. I said, well, what does that have to do with anything? I don't even know why them having something or not having something affects me. I'm a whole nother person.
Right.
So they get frustrated. you know, or when I refuse something like a breast mammogram, why? Well, no, I don't need to do that, you know. But yeah,
Right.
so, yeah, your family history, it's important to know things, but that doesn't mean you're at risk.
Right, but it's a morphic field, your family history,
Right,
that you've
right.
either bought into or you haven't.
Yeah, I'm like,
So
what
you've
does that
either
do
bought
with
into breast cancer
Yeah.
or you've said, that's BS. I'm not going to get breast cancer. Who cares?
Yeah,
The person who frets about it or worries about it and gets the mammogram every 6 months just to be extra cautious, they're literally waiting to get the diagnosis.
exactly.
And that is being created in the mind. Okay, another example is heart attacks. You know, when a guy's had his dad and his grandpa and his uncle all get heart attacks in their 50s, they're literally talked about in the family. Oh, you know, your birthday's coming up. You know, your dad died at this age. Oh, you know, this and this and this. And that is a setup.
Yeah.
That is a total setup to have a heart attack in their 50s. Like basically the whole family is putting this on this person. And then they're worried because of all these stories they've heard since they were kids. That's a morphic field. So to better understand a morphic field, it's a thought process that's mostly fear-based. So if you're a person that's plugged into CNN, and I'm not just picking on them, I'm just using an example. You're watching CNN and the numbers are one thing, and you're just living in this thing of, oh, I'm going to get COVID. Oh, you know, I heard someone died, and oh, I wonder if I'm going to die, and you know, all this craziness, then you're most likely going to get COVID. I'm not going to say you're going to die, but it depends on how much fear and how much energy is put into that. You know, we all have control over our health through our mind. I would say that if you're a person that's living with a lot of fear and anxiety and you're watching this, you need to unplug. You need to unplug from the media. I have not, I'll just say I have not been vaccinated. I will not get vaccinated. And you know, some people say, some of my clients, is funny because they actually say, well, I did because of peer pressure. I did because if I wanted to see my grandchildren. I did because of whatever. I mean, no judgment. You got to do what you got to do. But in my family, because I have such strong confidence and convictions, not one person, not one client or family member has even said anything to me. Because they know if they do, I'm going to pull out about 1,000 pages of research and hit them with it.
Well, you know? I mean, I just, in my family, and for me, I don't ask people. It's none of my business.
Right.
And if they ask me, it's none of their business. You know, nobody knows whether I have or haven't. They can assume whatever they want. I don't care. And
right, but we're talking about just briefly before this call, these, you know, debate interviews where you have two opposing opinions. You know, that's the thing, is we should all accept each other's decisions.
Absolutely.
and do the research. Don't just watch TV and have this strong opinion. Like, do your own research and decide if it's, you know, best for you. I had a client that flew to Egypt. One of my clients is a doctor in Florida. She was flying to Egypt and she had this huge dilemma about getting vaccinated.
You have a doctor that's a client?
I have lots of doctors that are clients.
I'm just saying, that says a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
I have optometrists and chiropractors and, you know, MDs and psychiatrists, psychologists, but she was really fretting over the vaccine. And actually in that case, I told her, I said, well, I don't know if I want to get into this, but I dowsed and got that she actually should get the vaccine, and I dowsed which one. Now, I even was surprised with that response because I thought, why am I telling her to get the vaccine? But what I realized through my answer was that she was going to get stuck somewhere. And this actually has happened where she got stuck in Germany, and then because of travel restrictions, but then sometimes you get stuck and then you don't have access to which vaccine you want. So it was better actually in that case in Florida to have the decision, do it the right way, make an educated choice on which vaccine you're going to choose, instead of being in an airport somewhere and you got to get a jab to get on this flight where you have like no resources. So again, it's just like preparation where you have your own peace of mind. And anyway, that's what I'll say about morphic field, but just watch where your mind is going. This is true of everything. This is true of your negativity or, you know, relationship stuff or just general fear and anxiety. You know, try to unplug from wherever that's coming from, because generally it's a field that you're tapping into much bigger than yourself. But you have to realize that you've plugged into that field. I mean, it just doesn't surround you and take over. It's where you're putting your time and energy. And so, but be careful of that with COVID, because I'll go back to New Vision. And then this last thing I have to say about this. Some people ask me on New Vision, because it's a holographic AI system, can it tell if you have COVID? And the answer is no. And the reason the answer is no is because if someone's convinced they have COVID or convinced they don't have COVID, that's what I pick up on. Mm-hmm. I pick up on the energy in their field. Right. So if I'm sure I don't have COVID, it's not going to tell me I have COVID, because it's picking up energy and not like a lab thing, or a thing up my nose, which also varies depending on, which test they get. Okay. But I would just say that that's what we're picking up on is information. So you're either in there or on your way there, or you're not. So does that help, Brandy, answer the question?
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I really appreciate your answer, or what you were saying about the person that you dowsed for, because again, it goes back to individuality, right? Right. And what's right for the individual. And even the people who have gotten this shot, like, there's no reason to fear, because just as strong as these forces are that want to harm people, there is this other side that is really powerful that's saying we can overcome anything, right? So I'm reading and looking at how people, and it's kind of a detox, but it's also like an energetic detox around what we can do to shift any damage that's been done from these shots. So I really appreciate what you're saying about all of this. And I agree wholeheartedly, 100%. We're almost always on the same page. How can people get in touch with you, Gwen, if they want more information?
Okay, so my website is New Vision, NUVISION. It's okay, New Vision with NU, and then USA.com. And then on the screen, my phone number is 281-236-5453, and it's on the screen. And then my email. I will say that as far as new clients go, I don't even have any openings until November, just because I've gotten so busy with emergencies with existing clients and their family members, that if someone just randomly calls in, and I'm going to be in Colorado doing a workshop and helping at Peaceful Meadow for 2 weeks in October. So that made my schedule really wonky with only being here 2 weeks in October. So I wanted to save that space for my existing clients so I could support them. But I do have openings after November. If you want to go to newvisionusa.com, you can see more about the technology. If you just want to order products that are these immune products, they're not this, like I said, $14. Zinc is like $12 for a 90-day supply. NAC is under $20. The Ultra D5000 is like $27. These are not expensive products. You could get the whole shebang for under $100 and have, like I said, that peace of mind. So you don't need an appointment to do that. We send it with instructions and like a little thing. And we use products that I use and I've been using. So that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show today and for offering up this really valuable information. I know a lot of people have had a lot of questions, and I think this has been very helpful. So we really appreciate you, Gwen. Thank you so much for being on the show. Sorry we had to go over a little, but this is good information, right?
I know, thanks. I was just thinking, Brandy, I think you and I could, I just met Dee Dee today, but I think you and I could honestly talk all day and just have an open conversation about a lot of things.
Well, I was just going to ask you if you needed a mentor, someone you wanted to mentor, an intern. I mean, I was willing to show up and do filing for training or whatever. So, because there's so many things I don't know, even though I know a lot about natural medications and health and immunity. I mean, geez, I'd love to just come and sit under for a couple of weeks.
You learn so much. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And,
so much.
Yeah, it's really great.
Thank you so much, Gwen. We're going to end on that note. Have a wonderful day. We really appreciate you and hope you can come on again sometime.
Thanks, Brandy. And it was nice meeting you, Dee Dee.